2025. This is a regular business meeting of the Billings City Council. If you would, stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Tidswell is on for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to God.
Let us pause in reflection. Source of wisdom and peace, guide us as we gather to serve our city. Grant us clarity, compassion, and courage in our decisions. May we seek justice, promote unity, and work for the good of all. Bless our community with hope, safety, and opportunity. Amen.
Tony, if you would, please call the roll.
Councilmember Shaw, Gulick, Neese,
Present.
Owen, Rogers, Kennedy,
Here.
Aspenleiter,
Absent, excused.
Tidswell, Boyette, Rupsis, Mayor Cole.
Here. Council, we don't have any minutes for approval this evening. Do we have any council courtesies? Yes? No? Okay. We have no proclamations. Any council reports from organizations you serve on behalf of the council? Then city administrator report. Chris?
Yeah, Mayor and Council. So just a reminder that over the next 2 council work session evenings, so that's next week, May 19th, budget, followed immediately the next day, so Monday and Tuesday, so 19th and 20th for budget, and then again, the next work session cycle, June 2 and June 3. So hope that you've got on your calendars, those are same time, same place, 5:30 start time, but add the Tuesdays, each Tuesday following those Mondays. And then no ex parte communication, and that's all that I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chris. This is then an opportunity for public comment on actually our only agenda tonight, which is our consent agenda and all of the subparts. Actually, there'll be a special presentation later. But if you've come to speak on anything on our agenda this evening, this is your opportunity. We just ask that you come to the podium, keep your mouth as close to the microphone as possible, and tell us your name, and we just ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Council member.
Council and Mayor. Pam Purinton, former council member, 3606 Clement Circle. So Mayor and Council, some of my concerns are ones that I share with you that have come from friends, neighbors, legislators, social media buzz. And so some of the issues that I'm hearing a lot about, the water issues have not been resolved. And there was an expectation that they would be. There's going to be a collection on delinquent water bills. Gas allowances for employees that were tacked onto wages. Shifting of public works staff. So what's going on in the public or in waste management? The administrator had advocated for property tax relief bills, which calls into question our charter. Our city administrator wants a COLA increase. He already makes probably 4 times the amount of the average income in Billings. So conventional wisdom is, you know what you know. You get information, you process that information. The other part of that is you don't know what you don't know. Information is not given. So is that due to a lack of transparency? It is the responsibility and the expectation that the city administrator will give you the information that is necessary for you as elected officials to make informed, knowledgeable decisions. So I'm not saying all of those issues that I present to you are true. They may just be partially true, but that's a lot of information that's out there. So I would just ask you as council members, as elected officials that have a fiduciary responsibility to those who elected you, to dig deep, to ascertain the information that is not given, digging deeper, getting information that is not given, so that you can make those wise decisions. I know you got a tough job, been there, done that, and it does get tough sometimes. But I believe in each and every one of you that you can do that. So anyway, thank you for your time this evening, and I hope you have a good meeting.
Very good, thank you. Other public comment on anything that is on our agenda tonight?
Hi there, Peter O'Brien from the Billings Skate Park Committee, 313 North Broadway. We're here tonight to gift our lighting package over to the city and Parks and Rec. And just wanted to say we're very happy to be here and be handing this off. I think this is a huge step, not only for the skaters down there, but for the city at large in terms of safety in the area. So yeah, thank you all. And we're starting to get comfortable here. So this isn't the last time you'll see us.
Thank you. And Peter, thank you. There's a lot of money coming to the city as a result of your hard work and the hard work of your committee. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Very good. Other public comment? Senator Lenz.
Good evening, everyone. Members of City Council, Senator Dennis Lenz, 2920 Brentwood. Just here, well, two things. Nice digs in the new City Council chamber. That's nice to come to this and see this. But as part of the process, right about here, is this where I need
That's
to be?
perfect.
Of course, you know, we just wrapped up the legislature, worked very, very hard to process through everything that we were working on, always putting Billings at the forefront of what we're trying to accomplish, constantly reminding everyone that Billings actually exists. The Flathead, the Missoula, Bozeman, oftentimes they forget all about us. And at that same time, acknowledging the fact what an economic driver we are. As part of that economic driver was how we processed through the property tax bills, particularly the 231 bill that came through, House Bill 231. We in legislatures in Billings became very evident at the beginning that 231 was not good for Billings. And we actively moved forward with that thought that it was not good for Billings. Senate Bill 90 was a pretty straightforward bill that would accomplish property tax relief across the board without complicating anything associated with our city charter or anything like that. So as we heard from businesses in Billings, as we heard what the city council's position was on that, it was then a little disappointing after I got home to find out that there was lobbying behind the scenes and maybe in front of the scenes for 231, which has a negative impact on the city of Billings. Now that we have complicated everything by sending that to conference committee, it should have been to free conference committee because conference committee can only address the amendments out of the prior House. And it was massive changes were done in conference committee. I don't know that it can be legal, but it certainly still is not good for the city of Billings and is something we're actively involved in. I'd be glad to talk with any of you about it and any of what that looks like. But all of us together, we can work for some really good here. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for your service. Other public comment on anything on our agenda tonight? If there is, please just make a little line and we'll have less transition time.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Tom Iverson, 2717 Hoover. I own Pride of Montana. I've talked to you once before about the custodial contract. The RFP originally was done in January of 25. I submitted my response January 22nd. So we're now 4 months into it. So if you award the contract to us, we're going to spend $15,000 to $20,000 buying equipment to clean this building. We're going to spend countless hours training my employees. We're going to have to do a lot of construction cleanup because a lot of it wasn't done correctly. All the bathroom floors are a mess. They all need to be taken care of. The terrazzo on 5 in the lobby all needs to be scrubbed and waxed. There's numerous windows that were never cleaned right to begin with that need to be taken care of. So with all the startup costs, I don't make money for the first 2, 3, 4 months. So the reason my cleaning contracts have 30-day written notice is not so my customers can shop my price every 6 months. The reason that's in all my contracts is in case I don't perform, then they have a way out. They can cancel me because of that. In the 48 years I've been in business in Billings, I've had one customer cancel my contract because they found a cheaper price. 6 months later, I was back cleaning that building, and I still am today. It doesn't make sense to do all this work and be canceled in 6 months. I would urge you to remove the custodial from the facilities RFP, do them as 2 separate items, and get this building properly taken care of. The other portion of that, of course, is the unions. If you hire us and we get going, you've got a couple union members that are going to be transferred to other areas. If you go through with an RFP for the engineering, you're going to fire union workers. So now you're going to have a big mess on your hands because now you're going to RFP that. Now you're going to have the custodial tied up in it. It's time to move forward, do what's right for the city employees, do what's right for the taxpayers of Billings, do what's right for my company that's been here 2.5 years, and then taking on more work week after week as people moved in here, and get this done. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Other public comment on anything on our agenda tonight? Any public comment at all? Seeing none, no one is coming forward. We'll close the public comment period and move ahead with our consent agenda. Council, do we have any separations on item 1, our consent agenda? Councilmember Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to separate 1A1.
1A1, 1302 Park Hill Drive Housing Rehab Project. Other separations? Any other separations? Okay. Consider that separated. Do we have a motion concerning the unseparated items? Councilmember Gulick.
I move to approve the items on the consent agenda as submitted with the exception of item 1A1.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Rupsis. Discussion now on the motion or questions. Councilmember Rupsis.
Thank you, Mayor. Kevin, I just had one question related to Wilson Park. Last time we were talking about this through the annexation process. There was some question of whether or not utilities could actually be put through that property. Have we gotten any clarification on that, or Gina, or anybody that can let us know whether or not this is really going to matter in the end?
Councilmember Rupsis, I don't have my final opinion yet. I've done some work on it, and I'm having some other attorneys take a look at what I've done to give me some feedback. So I'll give you a final opinion before any actual commitments are made as far as where this, conveying the property or anything like that. So what we're doing tonight, we're good with. It's okay, but I understand that you're asking for a specific opinion about the actual restrictions of use, and I'm not ready to give it, but I'm fairly confident that we're fine on that, but I just don't want to give a formal final opinion.
Okay, very good. Other questions or comments? Councilor Manise?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually had the same question regarding this because I
I think I'm a little confused why we're not having the waiver, or why we're having the waiver removed. Do I understand that correctly? We're removing, maybe Hunter can come explain this, because I think that was one of the things I expressed to him. I was appreciated that they kept the waiver there. Are we leaving the waiver there, or is it being removed?
The waiver will remain.
It will remain.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And I believe that the memo reflects that, but maybe it's
Yeah,
just not
when I
clear.
read this, I couldn't tell if it was actually being removed or not being removed, and so.
It's not being
Just confirm
removed.
it's still there, we're not removing it. Okay,
It
thank
is,
you.
yes.
Appreciate that.
Councilmember Boyette?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to, 1D, it's always nice to acknowledge a grant of $100,000 in improvements from the Musco Sports Lighting. I mean, that's incredible. So we, the city, have to acknowledge that and say thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. Other comments on our motion? I just want to acknowledge what Tom Iverson was saying. There's no guarantees on that, I guess, but he was talking about basic fairness, and I wouldn't want the impression to be given that it went in one ear and out the other. So I at least heard what he was saying, and I'm sure the other council members did as well. So any other comment on the motion? Okay, we'll proceed to a vote. The motion is for approval. All of the items that were not separated, i.e. all the items other than 1A1. If in favor of the motion for approval of those items, please say aye. Aye. Motion, or if in opposition, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us then to the only separated item, 1A1, 1302 Park Hill Drive Housing Rehab Project. Councilmember Boyette, that was yours. Would you like to start us off somehow?
If Tamara O'Dear is here, maybe she could help me or someone. Hello.
Hello.
I bought a lot of houses and sold a lot of houses. So I guess my bottom line is, what did we pay for the house? Number one. Number two, what's it going to cost to fix it? And number three, what is our anticipated sales price, which means do we make any profit?
Thank you, Councilmember Boyette. First of all, we paid $247,500 for the property. The construction agreement, let me find the number, $262,530 to fix it, and the sales price will be the lower of either the acquisition and rehab costs, HUD's purchase price limit, or the appraised value. So whichever one of those three is lower, that will be the sale price. The rehab acquisition and rehab costs, the purchase price limit, HUD's purchase price limit, or the current appraisal of the property following rehab.
And do you know what about the purchase price limit is for the?
It's currently $356,000. It usually changes in June-ish, May, June. What's happening with the administration, I don't know when we're going to have an updated price.
But it will be in the vicinity of something more than 350.
356, correct.
But something a little bit more than that is probably, so almost certainly that is the price. Councilmember Boyette, go ahead.
But right now, we're going to have 509,000 into it.
That is correct. So these are pass-through funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. There are no city funds in this project. So we're using CDBG funds for this project. So we're trying to do several things. Number one, we're trying to stabilize and improve neighborhoods, and we're trying to get first-time home buyers into their first home. So those are the reasons that we generally spend more than we get for the properties.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that just doesn't make sense. But I mean, that's from a, could we use that 247.5 for something other than buying a house? Question.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember Boyette. The consolidated plan gives you several options of things that you can do with CDBG funds. This is one item that's in the plan. When we come to during May, when we have to have our timeliness, when we have to spend money that we have in our accounts, the foreclosure program helps us not get into trouble with our timeliness issue. Mhm.
Okay, Tam?
Yes.
You want Tam here, I assume. Councilmember Shaw, Councilmember Owen?
I'd actually like to make a motion and then people can still have questions, but
Okay.
I would move to approve item 1A1.
Okay, so the motion is for approval, consistent with staff recommendation. Councilmember Gulick indicates a second. Councilmember Shaw and Gulick, did you want to speak to your motion? And before we recognize Councilmember Owen?
Just quickly, because I did in on the community development meeting this month where they got into details and talked about it. And it does seem like the timeliness of having to expend some of these federal funds really has become an issue at this point. And so this project has already been in the works. I think I would encourage us to approve it because otherwise we're going to leave a house that desperately needs improvements looking terrible. And we won't have a house for a new first-time home buyer. And again, as Tim said, there is no city funding in this project. Thank you.
Councilmember Gulick, anything? Okay, Councilmember Owen and Councilmember Nice. Yeah, Councilmember Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. It's no questions, Tam, but you're free to keep standing there. It's no secret I oppose this program. I have opposed this program since I've been on council. I think it is a poor use of money, and it's a very slow way to address affordable housing and community development needs. I understand the timeliness issue, and I know that community development is working to try to make this process more inclusive and more efficient, but this program just is not it, in my opinion. I think we've done about 50 homes over the course of multiple years under this foreclosure. I think we could, the amount we are putting into construction eclipses what we have committed to putting into our friends at the Family Justice Center on an annual basis. There are better community development projects to do. There are better ways to streamline the compliance costs, the compliance burden, so that more people apply. I'm going to oppose this today because I've consistently opposed foreclosure, even in the consolidated plan. I don't think we should fund it. I understand people want it there as a fallback, but I think our focus should be figuring out how to make the CDBG program work better for the city of Billings, how to reduce the compliance burden consistent with HUD regulations, and develop some projects that are much more targeted. This, to me, is just too slow of a way to address affordable housing.
Thank you, Councilmember Nice.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question. A couple of things as I consider this, because I agree, I think this is really an odd way to look at a property where we're going to put in this kind of money on a house we're going to lose $287,000 for or $290,000. So I think my question is, what happens if we just don't approve this tonight? What would you have to do with the property?
So a couple of things would happen. Thank you, Councilmember Nice, for the question. In my mind, and Brenda and Wyeth are here and they can correct me if they want to say something else, but in my mind, we use CDBG funds to purchase the property. So we would have to repay HUD the amount of the money with non-federal funding. The other thing is we could sell the property and do nothing on that property if we could sell it. Yeah, the house is in very poor condition. If we don't do it, I would be surprised if somebody else would take it on.
Okay, and then another question on the process. The memo says it was bought in 2024. So does the council get involved in the approval of those purchases of the property prior to them being purchased?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Nice. The city council is involved in approving the consolidated plan and the elements in this consolidated plan. So after the city council approves it, after HUD approves it, we just go forward with the programs.
Okay, so does someone then, a committee of people there, look at this house and say, okay, this is what we have to buy this house for. This is what's going to cost. We're going to estimate losing $290,000 on this, to get this home back in the market. Is there some estimate that was done on this prior to you buying it to say that you knew that you were going to lose $290,000 on this?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Nice. The foreclosure program homes sell very quickly on the market. So there's not a lot of time. We sometimes don't even have time to finish inspections before we have to do a ratified sales contract. So we do our best estimate. We go out and view the property. We talk about it among staff. We do some estimates on what we think it will be. What happened with this particular home is we didn't realize when we purchased it that it's on the National Register of Historic Places. So that's kind of threw a monkey wrench into things. That was very expensive. The windows, the stucco, a few other things that were very expensive to do. So we have scaled the project back as much as I think we can at this point. We have abated all of the asbestos in the basement. We're basically down to the studs and the lead-based paint, and we won't be doing anything in the basement. So that'll be up to the new homeowners if they want to complete the basement.
Okay, so you've already spent money on this, so that's
Yes.
So there's additional money that we didn't even account for in these
Yes.
numbers. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wyeth?
Yes, Mayor and Council, just wanted to add a little bit to what Tam has provided. So there, besides so as she said, you all adopt our consolidated plan we just did a couple weeks back, both for the next 5 years as well as for our annual action plan for the next year, and this program is included in that. So that is correct in terms of when that moves forward, then we use that as one of the programs that we work with throughout the year to work through both our timeliness, but also the first-time home buyer program and doing neighborhood stabilization, which this absolutely is a neighborhood stabilization project. If you have seen this house and if you've gone through the Park Hill 13th intersection, you can't miss it. It is in very bad shape. It was a code enforcement house. We had lots of code enforcement violations over the years there. If the city wasn't doing this, it would stay there and it would be in bad shape for indefinitely. Even if somebody purchased it and was going to rent it out, it wouldn't be to code. We would continue to have code enforcement problems in that property. So there's a real key part of this, which is we're trying to improve the house, the neighborhood, and get a new home buyer or a new homeowner into that property. So that is part of the program. It is not to make money. We're not even allowed to make money with this program. So just wanted to clarify that. And then also regarding not just the adoption of the consolidated plan and the annual action plan, there's actually a resolution that you adopted that provides the city administrator and us the direction when we do the purchases of these homes, which is why you do not see every time we purchase the home, it doesn't come to you, which also wouldn't work because we have to move quickly when these HUD foreclosed homes come available. We can't, or we wouldn't even be able to do it. So there's a couple different mechanisms in place with this program, which is why you're seeing it this way and the way we proceed. So I just wanted to add that information as well. And yes, we went through a whole exercise to back down actually on a variety of things. Tam mentioned the basement. We looked at a variety of things throughout the house that we worked with the proposed contractor to reduce the cost quite a bit because, yeah, it wasn't realistic and we weren't going to be able to do that with the funds. So anyway, thank you very much. Just wanted to share that information.
Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy?
Yes, I drive by this house at least 2 or 3 times a day. We've been wondering what actually is going to take place on it. This is truly a blighted house in the area. And we do not have $247,500 to pay back the federal government for this. And I'm going to be a little self-serving. This is right down the street, right in Ward 3, and I'm going to support it. I do understand, Councilwoman Owen, I think we need to address what you're talking about, but I'm going to go forward with this, and hopefully we clean up a blighted house in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tam, I apologize for having you come back, or Wyeth. Just want to make sure I understand the numbers. Exactly what's the gap that that this is likely to cost us? We paid $247, right?
Mayor and council, I may have to have Tam help me out here, but there's right now what you're looking at tonight is the 262 to do the improvements. So you would include that with for now with the purchase price, and then we don't know obviously until we complete it. We'll have that appraised value, and then what she described, the appraised value, the combination of the improvements and the HUD purchase, maximum that we can do at the HUD purchase price. So we're in the 350, 360 right now. We don't know yet until we complete it with that appraisal what we'll end up at.
Okay, I just want to go back step by step. We paid about 247, correct? And we have about how much into it already? Or what do you expect for improvements? The 262?
Yeah, so the 262, yeah, that's what's for tonight. Yep, that's the total to do the improvements.
Okay, so that gets us to about 512 or something in that vicinity, right? And then we are expecting realistically to probably hit that maximum purchase price number, which is currently 256, but will go up a little bit.
356.
It's 356, but it'll go up a little bit. So let's call it 370 just for round numbers. So that's about 142 is what this is going to cost us, correct?
Correct.
Ballpark, very ballpark. And if it costs us 142,000, we only got one bid. Just to make people feel better, if this got delayed a little bit, to look for another contractor, look for the cheapest way to do it, to reduce that cost. Is that a realistic option, since we did only get that one bid?
Thank you, Mayor Cole. I sent the bid package out to 12 individual contractors. It was published 3 times in the Yellowstone County News. It was on the city website for a month. I'm not sure we would get another bid if we went back out to bid.
It's a bad time of year for that, obviously. Okay, so the bottom line is the cost is about $142,000. Okay. Unless somebody's disagreeing with that. Councilmember Ripsis, I don't think you've weighed in, and we'll go back, Councilmember.
I mean, it's not our cost again, but yes, it will cost
Understand.
us in the kind of general.
To the
federal
US
sense.
taxpayer.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It'll cost our great grandkids.
Yeah.
A lot more than 142,000, but this is a classic sunk cost issue. We are not debating tonight the 247 that we've already used to purchase this house. Our choice tonight is to either renovate the house and get it back into a state of stable, sustainable, livable condition, or to pass on it and probably put it back on the market where it sells to somebody that might not be as diligent in making it a livable, decent place for the neighborhood. So again, we're not talking about the 247. We can go back and at a later point talk about the consolidated plan and what process is used to make the decisions on these properties, so that we maybe don't get in this situation in the future. Although my sense is this program exists because these houses will not sell in any other kind of way. So the federal government helps us out by subsidizing the rehabilitation of some neighborhood properties that otherwise would not be restored, or would end up back in a colonial type situation. So we certainly don't want that. I'm going to support this tonight. Again, it's only the 260 that we're really worried about tonight. At some future point, if we think that the program shouldn't be continued, or we shouldn't get into these properties in the future, that's a different conversation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Bernice?
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, there's a lot of other costs there that I think we have to consider. They mentioned, but I don't know what the amount was, that they already abated much of the property, and asbestos is not cheap to abate, as we've seen here in the city hall. So there's it's much more than 140 or some that you're saying that, and I think Tom's right. Tonight we're looking at only 262,000, but overall this is 510,000 plus additional that we have lost the opportunity to use to help first-time home buyers in other property around the city. And so I am going to vote against this. I just want to make sure we're sending the proper signal to this program that this is not the wise way to spend money. I think we need to look at other ways. But I think this will probably pass, because I agree, we're already into it. We're kind of stuck, but I hope we don't get back into a situation like this. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments on it? Tam, one other question. I apologize for belaboring this, but we know that the amount that we have into this is going to be substantially more than the minimum federal or maximum federal purchase price number. It's in all likelihood, the appraised value is also going to be more than this artificial number that we're going to have to sell it for. So my question is this, somebody who pays this maximum federal artificial price is getting a really good deal.
Absolutely,
So,
thank you.
so how do we determine who's the lucky soul out there who gets this really good price because we can't charge them more? Is it done by some sort of a lottery, or what determines, is it first person to your door, or how does it work?
Thank you for the question, Mayor. It's first come, first serve. So it's first offered to approved first-time homebuyer applicants who are already preliminarily approved for the program. If one of them doesn't take advantage of it, for instance, on the St. John's property, I sent it out to the Billings Association of Realtors, and it went out through them. So we do everything we can to get applications in for it.
Okay. All right. Councilor Boyette, and we'll move to a vote soon.
Well, I was the one that separated this. I'm going to vote for it tonight, but I'd like us as a council to look forward in the future about how does this program work? Maybe a short work session or something, say, should we do this in the future? What's the cost? Good and pro, but I'm going to vote for it tonight.
Very good. Yeah, having some sort of criteria for what gets purchased makes sense. And I'm sure they already exist to some extent. Anything else before we go to vote? Okay, so the motion is for approval of item 1A1, consistent with the staff recommendation. If in favor of the motion for approval, please say aye. Aye. If opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Voting in opposition were council members Neese. Yes. Yeah, so voting in opposition, council members Neese, Councilmember Owen, and Councilmember Tidswell. All other council members voting in the affirmative, so the motion passes. Thank you very much. That concludes item 1, which is our only regular agenda item, but we do have a special presentation this evening on the Northern Lights Family Justice Center, and Taya and Aaron are here. So Chris, did you have anything in the way of introductions? And
Aaron is going to get us kicked off. And so as Aaron and the team are coming to the podium, as you guys are aware, I'm very grateful to get to join the team and some other members of the Family Justice Center and law enforcement and service providers. I guess it's been 2 weeks ago at the Family Justice Center conference. So glad that we had this opening tonight, that Aaron could give us an update with Taya and see the exciting things that are going on at the Family Justice Center. So Aaron, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, and I'm going to take this way down because there's a lot of tall people in this room, and I am not one of them. We have a PowerPoint. Is that on here?
Thank you, Tony.
I don't know. Which one's the share screen button? All right, there we go. That looks right. So first, I wanted to tell you that about 10 months ago, you all were gracious enough to enter into partnership with YWCA Billings to bring Northern Lights Family Justice Center to Billings and make it a reality. And we've done a lot of work in the last 10 months, and we're super excited to share that with you. And we're going to kind of tag team so we can all talk about the accomplishments and our path forward. Northern Lights is not a one-person project. There's many hands in this, and we're all working together to make it possible. So we wanted to reflect that in our presentation tonight as well. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Taya.
Yeah. Does this one work? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having us tonight. As Aaron said, there's a lot of people involved, and we've all come together and made decisions on Family Justice Center as a whole, and I personally think it's fantastic. So we just wanted to share some of that with you. First is our vision. When people come together to help others in need at such a hard time, we make a difference in people's lives, and we impact. Hello? Hello? Okay. Okay. When people come together to help others in need at such a hard time, we make a difference in people's lives and we impact future generations. The Northern Lights Family Justice Center is a welcoming community that empowers and supports survivors of all ages and their families through comprehensive, holistic services that focus on the whole person. Our collaborative approach creates a safe space where we use strength-based practices to end abuse and exploitation, pursue justice, and create pathways to hope. Our mission is to provide safety planning, support, and coordination of free local services for those experiencing unhealthy or unsafe relationships, violence, and/or abuse. Our trained and compassionate professionals are non-judgmental, and we welcome individuals at any point in their process. Our objectives at Northern Lights, we work in a united effort to achieve the following objectives on behalf of those victims and those affected by domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, and elder abuse. We help victims navigate criminal justice and social service systems, provide help and services to victims including children exposed to violence, refer to appropriate medical services, offer appropriate legal assistance, provide a safe space for victims to process through their journey of healing. We are so proud to bring the first Family Justice Center to Montana, and it's a much needed collaboration and co-location of the best service providers who wrap victims up with support and aid in the healing process as part of the community of change and hope. Located on the YWCA campus at 909 Wyoming Avenue. It is a full city block. It includes the Administration and Services Building, a 25-unit emergency shelter, a 24-unit long-term multifamily housing, future dedicated FJC building, pending renovations. Operating hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Our helpline is answered 24/7, and referrals to the FJC are followed up next business day if they are after hours. And then there's our email and website. I don't think I need to read that, but so we are officially co-located on-site partners. As of July 2024. We have developed operations manual and an intake paperwork that we use to do intake for all of our victims. We've achieved affiliation with the Family Justice Center Alliance, developed a website and social media channels, hosted danger assessment training for any interested partners. So we had that as a community training event. And
I want to go a little bit into the danger assessment. It's similar to Appraise. It works in conjunction with Appraise. Appraise is what the police department uses on scene. It's very much designed for a quick on scene administered by a law enforcement officer, whereas the danger assessment uses similar variables, but it's been validated through research. It's much more in-depth and it lends to a conversation and then a building of a safety plan from that. So we're not doing something different than the police department. We're just complementing each other.
The lethality assessment. We'll see here. And we hired a second services navigator to conduct an intake and provide navigation services. Oh my gosh. So we had lots of different events, and some of you had attended, and I loved seeing you there. We executed the Clothesline Project awareness event downtown in the park there. We presented 2 community education sessions in partnership with the school district 2 and had over 50 attendees. It was really good. Hosted 2 open houses at the Family Justice Center, one for the partners and one for the general public. We conduct monthly work group meetings. Our meetings, we've had meetings with over 30 government and community agencies to discuss partnerships and the referral process. We've created a soft interview room equipped with audio and video recording equipment, planned and executed Sexual Assault Awareness Month rally and gala just this last month, and we provide yoga classes for survivors and their sports, and classes for first responders as well. We've co-hosted a safe and healthy game night for women looking to build new relationships. So now I'm going to turn it over to Erin. Oh, yep. Okay.
Good. Thank you, though. So on-site partners and services. Right now, we've got 4 agencies that are co-locating at the center. The first one being the City of Billings, who you all, like I said, have allowed some city employees to join us on our campus, and it's been just delightful having them on campus. We really love it, building those relationships. Currently, we've got 2 DV investigators on site. In addition, we have a light duty officer who's helping them with jail calls, and he's pretty phenomenal. He really takes the job seriously, and he's making sure that offenders are being held accountable for every time that they violate that no contact order, which is important. We have survivors that we're working with that really appreciate that they don't have to report every violation, that somebody's looking out for them and saying, hey, this is happening and it's not okay. So we love having Officer Gilmore there. We also have the City Attorney's Office DV prosecutors. There's 3 prosecutors and they rotate on a daily basis, so there's always a prosecutor on site. We also have City Victim Witness Specialists. The 3 city VWs rotate on a daily basis as well, and they share coverage with the County Victim Witness Coordinators. The County Victim Witness Coordinators rotate and cover 2 days a week at the center. We're hopeful that we'll be able to get Yellowstone County prosecutors in-house at some point. We're hearing maybe with the new judges, they may be able to do some specialization work, and if that happens, they may have some specialized prosecutors that could join us, so we're not going to give up. We also have Angela's Piazza on site. They graciously are providing a weekly support group on site for survivors, and then once a week, they're also going into the shelter specifically at YWCA to meet with survivors in the common area there. And YWCA Billings, these are the services that we've been offering out of our campus for a while, but we're continuing to provide and share with our Family Justice Center partners. We do intake and services navigation, also known as case management. Services navigation is just a little bit more descriptive, I think. What we're doing is offering them the services that are available in the community and how to get there, and then linking them up with those, rather than telling them what to do or managing them. They can manage themselves. We just help them get there. We also offer hospital accompaniment for both sexual assault survivors who are having an evidence collection exam done, and also strangulation survivors who are having the forensic exam done as well. We have a 24-hour helpline that's answered by trained advocates, and we are able to, like I said, take referrals for Northern Lights through that 24-hour helpline if somebody calls after hours, and that gets to the services navigators who follow up the next business day. We have an attorney who provides civil legal advice and assistance. We also have a housing navigator on site with medium-term tenant-based rental assistance. Medium term is 12 to 24 months, depending on what the program is. We have about 35 slots of that currently. We also have our emergency short-term shelter. So Gateway Horizons offers up to 90 days of shelter for survivors and their families. I love that our new shelter is it's non-congregate, so it's essentially studio apartments. Everybody comes in, they get a studio, they've got private cooking area, their own bathroom. It's really improved the work environment for our team and also the experience that survivors are having. Additionally, through Gateway Vista, we have long-term housing. So our 24 Gateway Vista apartments, the first preference is given to people who are in the shelter. Second preference is given to people who are homeless because of DV, but maybe don't need shelter services. And then the third preference would be to open up to the community. We've never gotten to the third preference, and I don't think we ever will. Unfortunately, the need for affordable housing and housing housed to hard folks in the survivor population is great. So we're doing some great things there. We also have offsite partners that include Billings Clinic through their forensic nursing program, Tumbleweed, CASA of Yellowstone County, the Yellowstone Human Trafficking Task Force, HRDC 7, Riverstone Health, Self-Help Law Center, the Warrior Yoga Program, Big Sky Senior Services, Adult Resource Alliance, Montana Legal Services, Crowley Fleck, STEP Inc., and others. Right now, a lot of what our offsite partners are doing is making referrals to the Center for Services and then providing input. Additionally, there are some services that we're able to refer over for those if it's a specific service that we are not able to offer at YWCA or at the Northern Lights Family Justice Center. So when a guest comes to the Northern Lights Family Justice Center, they can expect that they will meet with a services navigator to complete an intake. We collect some demographic information. We administer and score that danger assessment, which is a research-validated lethality predictor. So it tells us on a scale of, I think it's like 6 to 35-ish, whether the risk that someone, a woman generally, will be killed by their partner in the future. So we go through that danger assessment with them, not only to help them safety plan, we're identifying what their risks might be. Are there weapons in the home? Has there been a recent job loss that's impacting them? Is there other drug and alcohol abuse issues in the home that are creating unsafe things, and how can we kind of plan around that and create an exit strategy? Or if they've already exited, how do we keep them safe to the best of our ability? They also complete the services menu. And what that is it's a 2-page list of all of the things that we think that someone might need help with. And it's broken up by the providers that provide them. So under services navigation, we've got, do they need help replacing documents like birth certificate and ID? Do they need to apply for food stamps or TANF? Are they on Medicaid? Do they need help looking for a job? Do they need to find childcare for their child? Do they need to find a primary care provider? Do they have injuries from a recent assault that they need to address? Do they need counseling? Do they need substance abuse treatment? There's this huge list of all, like I said, all the things, and we go through and they get to select which ones make sense to them. We also have our housing programs on there, our legal services program, and then through the criminal justice system, they're also able to, if they want to report to law enforcement, if they would like to find out about the criminal case, if there's one pending, or if they just want to know what that might look like, if they decided to proceed, what a criminal case, what a prosecution might look like. They can also meet with either the victim witness specialists or the attorneys to talk that through and make decisions with all of the information. This is also where we make referrals to other services, both on and off site. If they're on site, a form just goes with them and the provider makes a follow-up appointment. If it's off-site, we try to do warm handoff where we can, or make sure that survivors know where they're headed. Then we offer follow-up and ongoing care as requested by the guest. So we don't anticipate this being a one-time thing. People need to build a relationship in order to open up fully about what their needs are and in order to start to really engage in services. So we honestly expect that they'll meet multiple times with the services navigator and the other partners that they're working with. So who have we served? I started counting 7/1 of 24. We did have one YWCA services navigator at that time. We hired and officially had our second services navigator who's funded with the partnership funds or the city funds. She started in October, so really our intakes picked up like October, November, but we had a few before that as well. So 131 guests have completed intake, and they've met with the services navigator 352 times. 83 guests have received referrals to 19 other services to further meet their needs. We're seeing that civil legal assistance is the #1 request. Primarily, those are addressing orders of protection, parenting plans, and divorces, with a few other issues thrown in. Second is housing. We have big need for housing. Third is the county and city victim witness specialists. They also have been really instrumental in helping with the more non-complicated orders of protection where maybe there aren't children or other complicating factors. If it's a little bit more straightforward and attorney doesn't necessarily need to be providing legal advice, they're fantastic at helping. 14 have been referred to Angeles Piazza, 13 have been referred to mental health counseling, 6 to HRDC, 5 to the prosecutor's office, and then a few other, well, more than a few, other places that we're referring folks to: Family Promise, the YWCA Shelter, Salvation Army, the Mission, St. Vincent de Paul, Housing Authority, Job Service, Riverstone, and Family Support Network. And I will say that these numbers are based off of what is in the YWCA and the Northern Lights database. So it's services that were provided by YWCA or Northern Lights providers. I don't know what the outcomes or what other agencies that are listed here might be seeing, but this gives you a snapshot of what that services navigation is leading to. So 58 guests have met with YWCA Legal Services for 134 sessions. Like I said, that's primarily those orders of protection, divorces, and parenting plans. 48 guests have met with our YWCA housing program for 175 sessions. And we were able to provide 5 guests with $15,049 in rent and deposit assistance to help them secure safe housing. So that was really exciting that they didn't need shelter, but they came in and we were able to get them into housing so they're not staying in the home with their abuser. 9 guests who came to the Northern Lights Family Justice Center were also sheltered at YWCA Gateway Horizons. And we have really done our best to integrate YWCA and Northern Lights Family Justice Center. So there's one and the same to some extent. There's partners that are on site, but if somebody calls YWCA for assistance, they're going to have access to all of the Northern Lights Family Justice Center services. They'll get referred to the services navigator to do that intake, and vice versa. If somebody calls Northern Lights Family Justice Center, they're going to have access to all of the YWCA services through that. So one confusion I think we're seeing a little bit in the community is people thinking that it's a new or expanded pathway to services. And unfortunately, it really just isn't. $200,000 is an incredible investment in the center, but it doesn't buy us a whole bunch of new services. It just helps us with what we've got going and adding a few positions. So I just want people to know that if you refer to one, you don't need to refer to the other, and vice versa. I want to make sure that survivors are never feeling like they're getting their hopes up that, oh, I didn't know I could call Northern Lights. I already talked to YWCA, but we'll see what Northern Lights can do. It won't be different. So please understand that piece of our situation. And a couple of success stories. So I'm going to share one and then I'll pass it off. One of the ones that really struck me about how important this is and also how much better it is for survivors. We had a woman who was in town with her perpetrator. They were from out of town, and he assaulted her in the car while they were driving. And she literally at a stoplight jumped out and ran with nothing. She left her purse in the car and just got away from him. Later that night, he was apprehended and the vehicle was impounded. So she had connected with law enforcement earlier in the night and was brought to shelter. She was in shelter, but then the vehicle was impounded. You can't pick up a vehicle without an ID. Her ID was in the car, and The tow yard said, hey, we can't find your wallet. I don't know. I don't see it. And so we were struggling with how we were going to get this woman her vehicle back so she could go home, because that's all she wanted, was just to go home. And we were scurrying around the office, and we thought, oh, let's ask Katie what she thinks on this. Because Katie has access to criminal justice information, she was able to pull up a copy of that ID and then take the woman to the tow yard with that copy of the ID to show them so she could get her car back on the same day. I think if we had not been co-located, YWCA would have been saying, gosh, do we have to get a replacement ID, and how are we going to do that? Do we need to get a birth certificate first? We would have been thinking about, long term, and it may have taken days or weeks to make that happen. And instead, it just happened in one day, and it was incredible. Another one that really comes to mind for me is a woman who ended up in the wrong end of a criminal prosecution. Her abuser was incredibly manipulative, and so she had been arrested because she was engaging in some behaviors. And when the officer arrived, she said, oh yeah, I did that. And of course, her abuser was like, oh, she's just crazy and I didn't do anything wrong. She did come to shelter and disclosed to us that she'd been charged. And we knew who her perpetrator was and had a history with him. So I was able to look up who the prosecutor was, and it was Ben. And I went to him and I said, hypothetically, if I knew that there was somebody who had been charged who was actually the victim, what might we be able to do about that? He said, oh, well, let's get her and her public defender in here so we can talk about it, and I'll, listen to what she's got to say, and we'll see what we can do from there. And so that happened. They were able to come to a resolution and were able to identify that, yes, the abusive partner was absolutely manipulating the criminal justice system, and she was able to then not have to face those criminal charges. Again, it was weeks rather than months or years to go through that system. We were also able to help her get into stable housing with her children. So she's in long-term housing now instead of just the shelter. So those are just two of my favorites, and I'll pass it off to these guys to share.
I have just one to share, but I think just building relationships is one of the biggest key parts of this. And one of our offsite partners, there was a person working there and had called me and said, I'm working with this woman. She's going through a situation. She doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do, but I know that you guys can help her. And I hope that you guys can help her. And so he had her call, and we did a danger assessment. And she said, even just after the danger assessment and the services menu, she just felt so much more empowered. She felt like she had the opportunity to, when the time came, she wasn't sure that she was ready quite then, but when she was ready, that she could leave, and that she knows who to call, and she felt comfortable talking about it. And again, it's building those relationships, and I think being all together, working together, and really working towards the same goal is really key in that process. So.
And I also have a success story that I promised my partner I would share. I'm Katie Nash with the Billings Police Department, if I didn't get introduced before. Now, one of two domestic violence investigators. So my partner, Christy Funk, has stepped in, started taking new cases right away. She ended up working with a woman who was just too scared to report to law enforcement, just scared of the abuser, scared of the system. Between Officer Funk, the Northern Lights Services navigator, and the on-site victim witness specialist and prosecutor, they were able to go to that victim and talk her through all the steps, explain what it would look like, give her options to file a report or not file a report, do safety planning and intake. I think that also, like Aaron said, would have taken days at least to get all of those services wrapped around her, and they were able to get it done after a couple days of planning. They were able to get it done in a day. And that victim, I believe, is in a much better place at this point. So I promised I would share that success story. It was a huge deal. Any more? Okay. Yes, we're not done yet. So first, I will answer any questions you guys have about the police department's footprint in the Family Justice Center, what we're currently doing, how many of us, we covered that a little bit, but what our involvement looks like if there are those questions. But our next steps are to move into the permanent home, which will be in the vacant building across the parking lot from the admin building. That will require a $2.5 million remodel, but that remodel will create a modern and welcoming space for our on-site partners as well as our guests. It will create 12 to 15 new workspaces so we can build onto our on-site partners, invite more people to come into the facility to help out our guests that are coming through. We are working with Billings Clinic to get a fully equipped medical forensic exam room there on site for SANE exams, working with them about the different types of exams that could be offered on site. We also have our strategic planning meeting scheduled for July 31st. You guys were aware that we had a strategic planning meeting with the Family Justice Center Alliance maybe 2 summers ago. We are ready to have a second strategic planning meeting. We want to add on-site partners and add programming, but in a very intentional way. We want the community's feedback in that planning session as well. Here are some renderings of the new facility. So that is the vacant shelter building on the north side of the parking lot at the YWCA campus. That lower right is what the intake, the lobby area would look like. Top left is the first floor. Bottom right would be the second floor where the on-site partner offices are. And that's what we have.
Very good. Thank you. Council members, questions for Aaron, Katie, or Taya? Any question? Councilmember Boyette, Councilmember Neese, Councilmember Rowan?
So you said you have 131 guests. Do you have the atypical person that comes in? Is there, you can say of 131, typically that it's this kind of person, this age, this many children, this problem? I mean, is it millions of problems, or is it the same problem all the time we just haven't addressed as a society?
I would say that primarily it is survivors of domestic violence. We've had a few stalking victims as well, and a few human trafficking. Mostly women, but we've had a handful of male survivors come in as well. Most of them, I would say it's about half and half, adults with children and adults without children, which is pretty typical of what we saw before the center was open. And historically, survivors are between about 25 and 55 as far as an age range, but they range from teens all the way up. You know, we've had elderly in their 70s and 80s that have utilized services as well. So kind of there's a typical, but also it's a pretty broad typical.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Bernice?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on that, you mentioned 131 guests, but as you mentioned, half of them are women with kids. And so you're impacting much more than 131 because I don't know if they have 2.3 kids per, so there's quite a few there. So I applaud you for doing that. And that may be something in your stats that you kind of mentioned, how many kids are really being impacted and helped through this process. I would like to ask a question, really, if I heard this correctly, you guys all went to the San Diego for this. Can each of you address like one area of what you've learned there, what you can bring back to Billings?
Yeah, I'd be happy to start. For me, especially in light of the recent domestic violence homicide in Billings resulting from strangulation, which is, we know, incredibly dangerous. And in cases of non-fatal strangulation, the victim has a 7 times higher chance of being murdered in the future by that partner. I would love to figure out how, as a state, we could make it a law so that survivors could get a forensic exam done at the hospital with imaging, appropriate imaging, to make sure that there's no invisible injuries, potentially be evaluated for traumatic brain injury at no charge to them. Currently, if they report to law enforcement, they can get the forensic nurse piece paid for, but if they have that imaging done, then it's up to them. And there are pathways through crime victims compensation and some other ways that we can help to mitigate those bills. But I would really love to see it be, if you've been strangled, please go get emergency medical care. Let's make sure you don't have underlying injuries that could potentially prove fatal and go from there. And there are other states that have passed legislation like that who were in attendance at the conference. So that is my personal goal for the next couple of years.
Okay, very good. Councilor Rowan? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We are each sharing. Just to comment on that, the forensic portion of the strangulation exams comes from the Domestic Violence Investigations grant. So if that grant funding that my program applies for went away, that portion would not be covered. So just to be clear on that funding. My takeaway from the conference is that we approach this from two sides. We have the dreamers saying we need to do all of these things, we need to have all of these services, and we also need to have a very intentional, very deliberate planning process to accomplish those things. So the conference kind of solidified that for me, that we need the big dreamers and the detail planners in this process.
And I think I took away from it that we need to keep dreaming big, but also take care of those people. And again, building those relationships and making sure that we take care of them on the back end, because there's a lot of times victims, they just don't have a say in it. So us keeping the perpetrators accountable for sure. And I think they're doing everything they can, but we are doing that by supporting them. So just continuing that support.
And then
Piece
Chris?
I would, sorry, can I?
Yeah, I was
jump
going to
in?
say, and Chris, because you
Sure.
went there as well.
So there was a speaker by the name of Jim Henderson. I never met anybody who was born to be a probation officer. This guy was born to be a probation officer. He was absolutely incredible. We talked about bringing him, I asked the team, bringing him to Billings to speak with our police department and across the system. He just, for someone who doesn't work in that space, the ability to look at things through the victim's perspective was very eye-opening to someone like myself who isn't working in that space. And then, frankly, his approach, his language, I think would go over well with the officers. So I think he could have an impact on them looking at things from that victim perspective that I think would be pretty powerful. So we talked about that some after his presentation. So thanks.
And Mayor, quick follow-up on that.
Go ahead.
I would love to hear, maybe you can follow up with Kendra on bringing some of your ideas to the legislative committee, and we can work through that process on that. So thank you.
Ben as well to help me with that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, very good. Councilor Rowan?
Thanks, Mayor. Congratulations. What extraordinary progress you guys have made in a very short period of time. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing for this community. I just have a little technical question and then I want to elaborate. The light duty officer doing jail calls, is that a rotation or is that a permanent light duty officer?
He I don't think is a permanent light duty officer. Councilmember Owen, Mayor, and Council. He is currently on light duty. He will someday be off of light duty, and we will no longer have access to that. As you can imagine, the number of light duty officers varies depending on who's hurt, who's on maternity leave. So right now, when he is no longer on light duty, there are not plans that I'm aware of to get us help, and I will cry.
Okay, well, maybe we can help. But whether it's that light duty officer or the new navigator, Taya, do you do the training for them? Because, I mean, something like jail calls, you really have to understand that they might use third parties. They might, they'll do workarounds. I mean, there's all sorts of nuances in the DV space that you really have to know. So when we bring these new people on, are we using a Family Justice Center training module? Are we training onboarding? How does that look?
The majority of it is done by the professionals that have been doing it already. So the YWCA does a lot of the planning for the navigational services navigation specialists. So, and then Katie would do the training for the listening to the jail calls, and yeah.
So then just the last follow-up is, what does our partnership with the National Center look like? What are we getting? Are we consulting with them regularly? What does that relationship look like now?
We constantly, thank you for asking, Councilmember Rowan. We are constantly asking them if we have questions about anything or guiding us. And everyone there that's involved has been so willing to give us that guidance. They have manuals that are have been used at centers all over the U.S. And so anytime we have any questions, like with our operations manual, starting from scratch is not very fun. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so they sent us a couple to look at, and then we really changed that to make it work for our center. And with the member or the affiliation, we get, I mean, discounts going to the conference and different things like that. But really, it's their help if we need anything from like grant, letters of support or different things like that. They're definitely willing to help out with that as
Great.
well.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy?
Billings is an area that a lot of people come. They come for anywhere from rodeos to entertainment to whatever. And they come into town, and we know there's substance abuse, there's all kinds of things going on. Do you take a victim from out of town and out of county and work with her or him, no matter where they live?
I'll take that one. Thank you for your question. It depends. So for Northern Lights, yes, absolutely. We would take someone from out of town. They're able to access the services navigation, all of the on-site services. Currently, because the need is so great for emergency shelter, the only time we shelter folks that are not from Yellowstone, Bighorn, or Rosebud County is if an incident happened here, like the woman I referenced who was assaulted here by her partner and needed shelter while she figured out how to go home. But if somebody was living in Missoula and decided that Billings seemed like a really great place to live and came here, we're not able to shelter those type of folks because the reality is, we're averaging 2 rejections every single day because our shelter is at capacity. We can't serve everybody in Billings that needs it, and so we're trying to limit to the extent we can bringing people from out of area when all of the resources in our community are tapped. But certainly if somebody's here, they can access those on-site services and maybe shelter at the mission if that's a better fit.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else from council? Councilmember Gillick?
Yeah. Thank you for relating the success stories. I thought that was clearly it's better for victims, I guess, to be able to have those services much more quickly, but also seems like it's better for your staff. You're spending far less time, not spending weeks trying to help get an ID back, but later that day. What do you see as, so yeah, it can extend your limited resources, seems like a lot further. Any care to comment on that any further?
Yes, Councilmember Gulick, Mayor and Council, it has been a game changer just in the small amount of time that we have been open, that my office has been in that facility. It changed the way I felt like I was doing my job. Even just being able to either vent about an issue or talk through an issue, to have multiple disciplines just in the same hallway where I could lean out of my door and say, hey, can I get some feedback on this? It has changed the way we do business for sure.
And everyone has been so willing to do that. Everyone that works there. There's not, it should be, doors open unless you're busy. And that's how it is. If you're busy, your door's closed, but otherwise your door's open. That means anyone that has a question can walk by and ask it. And everyone's so willing to help out. It's amazing.
Very good. Thank you. I think that concludes your presentation then, I'm assuming. So we'll look forward going ahead, and congratulations. You guys really have accomplished. The community is congratulated or has done a lot in a short amount of time.
Thank you.
Okay, council, this is time for public comment on anything not on our agenda this evening. Is there any public comment on things that were not on our agenda? If so, just come to the podium. We just ask that you tell us your name and address and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Adam Kern. I'm at 744 Lake Elmo. You guys have seen me here multiple times. Tonight just frustrates me. Like, tonight is a perfect example of what's wrong with the government wasting money. Whoever voted for fixing that house needs to open their wallets and give me money. I restore houses all the time. This is the biggest joke in the world. We're throwing $190,000 plus away for nothing. I mean, it's taxpayer money. Everybody that voted against it, I'm totally on your guys' side. This is the biggest joke in the world. I could go on and on about all the stuff that's wrong with this building, with how much money was wasted, how much lost everything, how everything else wrong with the system. But the reason the prices stay high is because government steps in and buys a HUD house for $247,500, which is not worth it. It's worth $50,000 for the land, okay? And you guys step in, pay for it. It's such a joke. Like, I wish I got $190,000 every time I rehabbed a house in Billings. If you look on Washington Street, I bought 2 houses on Washington Street. I rehabbed the crap out of them. One had an old potato factory that was burnt down in there. I didn't get a dime for help on that. House was flooded, had to take it to the studs. But no, you guys are giving $190,000 plus to somebody that didn't work hard, gets a $190,000 extra on their house when they buy their house. I mean, it's a joke. Like, I don't, like, you act like it's government money. No, it's not government money. It's taxpayer money, and you guys are blowing it out. You say it's drive by the house. Let's doze it. Put a new house in there. But instead, we just keep the money high. I mean, I'm going to send an email to all you guys about stuff that I see constantly going on here. And why do we not get to comment on this after you guys state all the facts? We don't get to, the public doesn't get to come up and say anything. Like, not anywhere in the notes, when you look through the notes, it doesn't say we bought it for $247,500. It doesn't say how much we're going to lose on it. It doesn't say what the actual price is going to be that the first-time home buyer gets to buy it. I don't get to do first-time home buyers, so I don't get to buy it. I don't get to give cheap rent to somebody to move in there. Instead, whoever's going to get it, and you guys say there's multiple problems and issues with that house. 6 times in 13 years that code enforcement has come there, that's not very much. That's not horrible. And you guys are saying this is a horrible eyesore, whatever. But who cares if it's a house that's on whatever? If it's non-rehabable, doze it, start over, make something nice there. But you guys like that voted for it, I want to see $190,000. If you guys can't produce out of your pocket, say you guys voted for it, then you guys shouldn't be able to vote for something like that. It's just a joke. Like, every time I see this, every time I come in here, every time I see something stupid like $7.1 million to change the parking to back-in parking, that's our money. That's our money that we're doing stuff with. These basketball courts are our money that we did not vote for. Everything you guys keep pushing through is our money. And every single time it goes through, I get worked up, and I'm so sad that there's not more people in here that actually see what goes on in the city council and how much money is wasted on water system, on everything else. I mean, I'm out of time, but this is a joke. Like, it's such a joke.
Very good, thank you. Other public comment on items not on our agenda this evening? Any other comments? No one's coming forward. We'll close the public comment on things not on our agenda. Council, anything we have initiatives before we go to our executive session? Okay, then this then concludes the public portion of our meeting. We will go into executive session. Council will come back afterwards to formally close the meeting. But I do need to make the following finding consistent with state law. Having called this public meeting to order, the first or the next item on our agenda is the City Administrator Performance Review and closed executive session. Montana law requires all meetings of public or governmental bodies, political subdivisions of the state or organizations or agencies supported in whole or in part by public funds must be open to the public with limited exceptions. Chris Kukulski, City Administrator, has been notified of this agenda item, and because he wishes to assert his right of privacy in this matter, I will now close the meeting to the public pursuant to an exception set forth in Montana Code Annotated Section 2-3-203 sub 3, which provides, quote, the presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting during the time the discussion relates to a matter of individual privacy, and then if and only if the presiding officer determines that the demands of individual privacy clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure. The right of individual privacy may be waived by the individual about whom the discussion pertains, and in that event, the meeting must be open. Close quote. The council is going to discuss personnel matters involving performance of city administrator consistent with its usual practice, and I've determined that Mr. Kukulski's privacy interests clearly exceed excuse me, the merits of public disclosure. Therefore, the meeting needs to be closed. With that, we will adjourn to the big conference room next door.